execution. And that's what we have to attack. We can blame it on the call. We can blame it on anything we want, but the reality is if we feel strongly enough to call that play, then we have to have answers for why it did or doesn't work. And so that's where I'm attacking is why didn't it work? If this guy was supposed to do that and he was supposed to do that, then that's the issue. We have to make sure our guys are.
Let's go. Get into it. Wild weekend in college football. We got to start with Notre Dame. First off, the Notre Dame AD, what are you thinking scheduling a game against Ohio State to follow it up going against Duke, having to go to Durham and play Duke, and then following that up with a game that, again, another ACC foe in Louisville, not to mention play USC next week. Tough schedule, tough sledding for Notre Dame. It doesn't look like it'll get any better. I've got a lot of thoughts on Marcus Freeman. I don't think it's time to let him go yet, but it's obvious that there are some issues in terms of play calling, some issues in terms of situational football. Again, you know, we go back to the Ohio State game. You got 10 men on the field. Timeout is called. You got 10 men on the field after the timeout. You go down to Duke. The play calling is terrible. You guys barely escape with the win there. And then you go to Louisville and just get dominated. Bad play calls. You go for it on fourth down from like your 36-yard line, just basically giving up the game. And, you know, so it's terrible. And it doesn't get any better going against this USC offense. Again, USC's defense is terrible. You know they're not going to be able to stop the Notre Dame rushing attack. But is Notre Dame going to be able to score with USC is going to be the big question. Things can get worse in South Bend before they get any better. Any thoughts on that, Doug?
The only thought that I have in regards to the schedule is the AD had high expectations for the team. And historically, we heard a lot about the strength of schedule for Notre Dame. We understood that since they're not technically in the conference, they had to piece together their schedule to make it more comprehensive so that it looks more appealing to the college playoff committee. That's my take on it. Nonetheless, it's inexcusable to string together a whole bunch of away games like that that requires some travel, and you got just the student athlete component to it as well. So that being said, I just think it wasn't smart, to your point, to schedule those teams back to back. No one can predict how well a team is going to be leading into the season. So who knew that Duke was going to be decent this season? Who knew that USC was going to be that dominant offensively this season? They were dominant last year. They're that much better. A lot of people
knew USC would be that
dominant. To me, they're even better than last year. If you ask me, they elevated. The play of Caleb Williams, Heisman winner from last year, most likely going to win it again if he stay healthy. I pray that he stays healthy. I don't know, man. Of course, I'm not ready to go away with Coach Freeman quite yet. This is the second season at the helm. So I think Notre Dame will be fine. They just can't lose any more games.
For sure. So moving on in college football, we had the Red River Rivalry this weekend.
Yeah.
Crazy game between Oklahoma and Texas. A lot of people had Quinn Ewers in Texas pulling this game off, but they weren't able to. Oklahoma looked great. Brent Venables is doing big things down there. And overall, this Oklahoma team, both on offense and defense, look like they're a team poised for the college football playoff. Very experienced quarterback in Dylan Gabriel, who's did his thing at UCF, and has, again, matriculated into this Oklahoma offense very well. What are your outlook in terms of the college football playoff? Do you see Texas still having a chance for one loss after getting an Alabama win? Can they run the table and possibly still make the college football playoff?
I think they can. They have a pretty strong strength of schedule. And they've been a uber competitive team this season. That was a very tight game. It could have swung either way. What I will say is that who would have thought that the Oklahoma Sooners would still be this competitive without Lincoln Riley? This team is still playing at a very high level without Lincoln Riley. And I'm not going to say that's because some of his players are still there that he recruited. I'm not going to say that because you got the NIL, you got the portal. A lot of players jumped ship and went over to USC. So needless to say, it's been a remarkable coaching job over there at Oklahoma. I think UT is still a great football team. It's a great city. I was there a few weeks ago. Great food, great college town, great atmosphere. I think they will not lose any more games. I think even if they lost one game, there's a possibility for them to still make it to the playoffs because, in my humble opinion, the only dominant team, like I said, for me, I think is Georgia. There's no other team more dominant than Georgia right now. So that being said, I think it's up for grabs.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think that if Oklahoma falters later in the season, that opens the door for Texas to still make the college football playoff. However, again, to your point, you got Georgia moving on all cylinders right now. You got several teams in the Pac-12 that are undefeated in Washington, USC. Then you've got Oklahoma, who, again, just defeated Texas. Not to mention you got Ohio State and Michigan, who are both
Michigan.
Playing solid football. So I think if all of those teams remain undefeated, then I think it'd be very hard for Texas to get into the college football playoff. But with all things being said, we know that Washington and USC have a matchup in a couple of weeks. Somebody's going to lead that game with the defeat, and that might open the window for Texas to get back into it.
Absolutely. Then you got the Ohio State and Michigan game as well, and then you got the Big Ten championships. So there's a myriad of scenarios that can play out before the college playoffs that can propel UT into that playoff picture.
Yep, for sure. Listen, if you're a UT fan or Oregon fan or whoever you're a fan of, let us know your thoughts in the comment. Does your team have a chance to make the college football playoff? Let us know. And as always, give us that CLS treatment. Comment, like, subscribe. We'll be back with more from me in the arena.